Well, Efficient Group Chief Economist Dawie Ruud joins us to discuss the ramifications of this latest bailout. Mr. Ruud, thank you very much.
Thank you. Good morning.
Joining us. So Eskom is the biggest risk to the country's economy. That goes without saying. The question, therefore, is what will be the trigger for that dreaded credit downgrade?
Yeah, I think we've been happy, we've been lucky up to now. Maybe we could just unpack the risk of Eskom. There are two levels that I think are important. The first one is that we need electricity. If we don't have electricity, the economy cannot operate. And we saw what happened a number of times in the past when we didn't have electricity and the impact on economic growth. So it's absolutely crucial that we have to make sure that we have electricity, the economy, to work. That's the first one. The second one has to do with finance. Eskom is financially so deep in trouble, I can't see how we're going to, well, it's not going to be easy to save it. The Minister of Finance is trying to do that. But on top of that, we have the state itself that is hugely in debt. And currently, the fiscal deficit is likely to exceed the budgeted estimates by a huge, huge margin because of reasons like, for example, Eskom, SABC, and Denel, and the like. So in the process, what happens, the state keeps on borrowing more and more money, and eventually the whole thing will fall over. Where that specific level is, of course, that will depend on the rating agency to rating agency. But I'm afraid to say that I cannot see how we're going to avert a downgrade this time around. It's only Moody's that still got us an investment rating. The other two guys already downgraded South Africa to so-called junk. And I've got a suspicion that Moody's will say, enough is enough, we have to downgrade, you know.
I'm going to ask you a political question at the end of our discussion. But talk to us about what Tito Mboweni says is a business model of Eskom that needs to change. He says that in that same sentence that imminent will be the announcement of the chief restructuring officer. What is the holdup?
There are so many unanswered questions here. He's talking about the vertical business model of Eskom that is not sustainable anymore. And we know they're trying to address that by breaking Eskom into smaller pieces, the three major pieces. I think that's the first step, but only the first step. We need to take further steps. Then we know there's a chief restructuring officer, and we don't really know what that person is going to do because he's supposed to be. There is supposed to be a CEO, and the CEO recently resigned partly because of political interference. So will this chief restructuring officer be the CEO? We just don't know. And the real issue here, if the politicians are serious about fixing the problems at Eskom, they need to say those dreaded words. We need to cut the head count. That means job losses. I haven't heard that. And until they hear politicians telling us what it really needs to happen, and that means, restructuring means people are going to lose their jobs. If they don't say that, I simply cannot take this seriously.
Mboweni also warning that revenue collection, tax collection, might be much lower for what is anticipated. If you factor in the possible downgrade, at what cost are we going to borrow? Because the state is going to be forced to borrow.
There are more than one problem on this side. It's that the South African economy is under tremendous pressure. The economy is hardly growing. We're probably going to see 0.5% growth or even less if we're lucky. Everybody is cutting their estimates down. That means that tax collections are under a lot of pressure. If you take even more taxes out of an economy that is under pressure, then the economy is going to grow even slower. With the so-called tax elasticity is under pressure, which means people are actively trying to evade taxes. So I'm afraid that tax collections are probably going to be tens of billions of rands below the original estimates, which means that the Minister of Finance will have to increase certain taxes. And that's the question. Which one of those taxes will be increased? And the only tax that can bring in substantial amounts of money will be a further increase in value-added taxes. And just imagine what Kusatu is going to do about that.
You add to this mix, Dawie Ruud, the issue of the political wrangling at Luthuli House. You then also, at the governance level, have the president that has been cited by the public protector for possible money laundering. The public enterprises minister, who's supposed to fix all these state-owned entities, is also in his own entanglement with the public protector. What is this doing to policy certainty? Because I think Business Unity South Africa has already come out to say the political temperature in the country is not boding well for policy certainty.
And on top of that, what you can add is the relationship within the tripartite alliance, and I'm referring specifically to COSATU. I get the opportunity to speak to local and international investors all the time. Local and international investors are looking for yield. They're looking for opportunities to make money. But they want clarity. They want certainty. And I'm afraid the reality is, and let's be frank about this, we have uncertainty in terms of politics. You've just made it quite clear. But we also have somebody that's supposed to be in charge, a president, and the president is not a very strong president in the sense that he has been elected with a tiny margin. We don't have a very strong president because we've got all sort of other individuals and groupings within the alliance and within government. I'm referring to the Secretary General as an example. So we don't have clarity on who really is in charge. And on top of all of that, I think what we really need now, we have to understand this. If we do get a leader that stands up, and hopefully it is going to be the president, what is important for us to understand, we need a ruthless leader now. I don't see that in the president. Ruthless in the sense that I'm going to take the lead. I'm telling you it's going to be difficult. We need to make difficult decisions. We have to do that for the future of the country. I don't hear that. I want to hear that from our president.
David Root, thank you very much for joining us. Very, very worrying situation indeed that faces the country at the moment. Well, the